you getting into music? When did you first start producing? Because, like, you are relatively young for the scene. Maybe in dance music, like, people are used to young kids producing and doing shows.
Yeah.
But how long have you been doing this?
Well, I was kind of like, you know, More Kismet?
Not personally, but yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of like More Kismet, but I sucked. So I was producing when I was really young.
You were like less Kismet?
Yeah, I was like less Kismet. I think I started when I was about 13 or 14. And then...
Was that with FL Studio? Fruity Loops, as I used to say?
No, I think I started in Ableton, actually.
Oh, wow.
I only had Ableton Lite. So I think I moved to FL because I only had Ableton Lite.
True.
And FL was cheaper.
Yeah.
But I started out because I watched a Launchpad video.
Ooh.
Like, what was his name? Well, there was the Madeon.
Of course.
Video,
pop culture, that's just a
I think that
classic.
one might have been... I think the Madeon one might have been what got me interested in producing.
Oh, cool.
Not because I wanted to produce music, but I thought, like, oh, it looks fun to press buttons that play sound, and press, like, bunch of buttons. So I'm like, I want to learn how to do it, so I got a Launchpad.
Oh, nice.
And came with Ableton Lite, so that's how I started. But then I realized, wait, how do you route it to play any of these things? So I'm going to have to learn Ableton if I want to be able to press these buttons like
right.
Madeon
They don't come pre-stocked with like 21 pop songs.
No. So I'm like, how would you even do that? So I had to learn how to use Ableton pretty much.
At least like in the...
To this day, I've never used the Launchpad to play like sounds in that way.
Oh shit! Do you use it though?
I think it broke. So no.
Thanks for your service. You did great.
It's definitely not a sponsorship for innovation.
Yeah, right. What do you remember about the first song that you ever made? I'm sure it was terrible, maybe, or maybe it was great.
I don't think I have it anymore, actually. But it sounded like it was pretty much exactly like it's not one Black Eyed Peas song, or is it Will.i.am? It's Will.i.am, this, you know, like Scream and Shout, is that what it's called?
Oh, and then we scream and shout and let it
one.
all out.
It pretty much just sounded like the beat of that, I think.
Bring the action. The drop.
It was pretty much that. It was like some weird, like, techno song, essentially. And then, it was weird, because something I've noticed is, like, when you start out producing, you think everything you're making is like, oh man, this is crazy, I can't believe I made this. And then you listen the next day and you be like, what the hell did I make?
Yeah.
I feel like the number one thing you get better at producing is, like, you get a better gauge for, is what I'm making crap right now, or is it not?
What's your gauge? How do you know?
Well, for a while I felt like I knew. But
now you're not so sure?
Stuff where I wake up the next day and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? So I don't know. I think maybe I've lost my ability to tell if something's crap.
Sounds like you're in the middle of making an album to me.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. I've heard people say it's good to, especially when you're mixing, to put the song on just in the background when you're mixing your house and see how it sounds. Like if it sounds like a song you listen to, then probably good, and if you notice something in it, it's probably not good. So
I see what you're saying. Yeah, if it can just kind of flow in the back of your head, then you're onto something.
Yeah, and something Alison Wonderland said to me is like, put on like a podcast in the background when you're mixing, and it will give you like the audio of the podcast will never change. The voices will always sound the same. So when you're mixing, you'll be like, all right, that's the one grounding sound that I hear. So you hear one sound that never changes. That's outside of mixing. And that does help quite a bit. Because if you're mixing for a long time, you can you'll get to a point where like, oh, this sounds pretty good. And then you'll close it, come back in a few hours and like, this is horrible. There's like no bass, or there's no mids, or there's no high end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think putting on some sort of, probably podcast, because there's nothing melodic in podcast.
Yeah.
Or if you do put on a podcast, make sure there's no music in the background.
Yeah, that's a really cool tip. Shout out Alison Wonderland.
Yeah, shout out Alison Wonderland for that tip.
I am brought to your music by the skill you have with the percussion. I'm really drawn to the percussion and the way that you kind of soften it with the chords and the samples. You've got a really nice like textural but not overwhelming sort of style. You know, it's not all G Jones like mindfuck, even though, which is great too. But when did you stumble on that style? Where does that come from for you?
No, I mean it was probably I would say because for a while I would just make like progressive house. And then I hit a point where I was like, I don't want to keep, like, I would go in to make a song and like, all right, let's get this kick rhythm down, one on each beat. And it's like, all right, well, it's like you would know what you're going to make when you go into the DAW. And that's the worst thing. Because I feel like you shouldn't really know what you're going to make when you go in to make something.
You should or shouldn't?
Shouldn't.
Okay,
it's sometimes better if you don't. Because then you come out with something like, I didn't have the idea to make that. Unless you have like a really solid idea that you want to try and make. You're like, this will be a good one. But if you don't, and you're going in with like a standard like rhythm, then I don't know. At that point, it doesn't really feel like you're creating anything new. It just feels like you're using like a template to make some sort of
following the formula, making something for the DJs to spin.
Yeah, it was probably, and look, like I still love house music, but I think maybe the way I looked at it was instead of changing the melodics in house, I would just change the rhythm.
I fuck with that, yeah.
Because some people are still making house music that's like innovative now. But at the time, I was just like, I'm just going to change up rhythms because I don't really want to do the same thing. And then I think it was probably listening to maybe Jack U.
Hey, nice shout out, yeah.
It's either Jack U. I think maybe the three were like Jack U, Rusty, and Flume were probably the main ones. Because Rusty had some really crunchy, like gritty percussion, which I love. And Hudson Mohawk too.
Hudson Mohawk, fuck yeah. Shout out.
Hudson Mohawk's still probably one of the bigger influences I currently have. But yeah, it was probably that. I'm like, oh, there's a lot you can do with percussion. You don't just have to use the same like percussion rhythm.
Yeah, there's so many spots in there. You can just
yeah. And then later on, I think I kind of was like, all right, well, I've gone into the EDM side of it, but what's like, why do these people make this genre? So I got into listening to like Flying Lotus and Jay Dilla and all those kind of people.
Hell yeah, Jay Dilla, that's doing your research.
Even like Jai Paul is one that I really enjoy. Specifically, A.K. Paul's brother, who does a lot of production.
My friend was just talking to me about Jai Paul, and I didn't know about Jai Paul, and now I didn't know about Jai Paul. I'm an asshole. Apparently, a lot
of my music taste comes from the GTA 5 radio station.
Oh, nice. That's very. Yes, you're not alone there too. I'm sure.
No, but A.K. Paul specifically has a lot of like really cool, unique rhythms in his music.
Fuck yeah! All right, I've been schooled. I'm getting into it.
So yeah, A.K. Paul, and then Subtract was another one.
Oh yeah.
Subtract is maybe kind of more where I'm leaning now. I really like the kind of like indie. I don't even know what that genre is, but it's cool.
Totally. We were listening to some mid-2000s kind of indie vibes, more on like the rock side, but I loved that early 2010s indie dance. Like, yeah, it's kind of not concerning yourself so much with what box you're in as like feeling your way around the track.
Well, it kind of was more just like, what's a song that I like? and then how can I, in some way, recapture the vibe that you get from listening to that song.
I fuck with that.
I think Pharrell said he doesn't try to recreate, like, he never tries to recreate songs. He just tries to reverse engineer the feeling you get from listening to the song.
Yes.
So he's like, how can you get that same feeling and make something new? And I think that's what happened with I think he got like a lawsuit or something for that Robin Thicke song.
Oh, that's true. The Marvin Gaye. Yeah, didn't reverse engineer that one enough.
It doesn't sound that similar though, so I can see what he means. Where I think he just tries to capture like the feeling from one song, and he got it so spot on that people were like, "This is that song." It's like, well, if you listen to it, it's similar, but it is different.
Yeah, it's that itty bitty change.